Hello everyone, we are Sarah and Quaid, and today we're showing y'all our walk from the beautiful United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C., all the way to one of our favorite places to visit in the D.C. area, the historic Old Town Alexandria. So come take a walk with us. It's about 10 miles, over 20,000 steps, and full of history, views, and even delicious food along the way.
This walk takes us all the way down the National Mall, which is 2 miles long. We'll make a pit stop at the Lincoln Memorial and pass over the Arlington Memorial Bridge into Arlington. We'll then head onto the Mount Vernon Trail, a popular trail for locals that travels from Arlington, Virginia, all the way to Mount Vernon, the former home of America's first president, George Washington. Once we hop onto the Mount Vernon Trail, we'll walk along the Potomac River all the way to Old Town Alexandria.
We started our journey bright and early at the U.S. Capitol, where the reflecting pool has some of our favorite little residents, the ducks. Fun fact, the Capitol is considered the very center of Washington, D.C. The city's street grid is designed around it, so all the street numbers and quadrant directions, like northwest or southeast, are based on their distance from this exact spot. We made our way around the reflecting pool to the southern side of the mall and down the gravelly walkway to begin our journey. In our opinions, the National Mall is one of the best tourist destinations in the world. All 11 Smithsonian museums along the mall are free to enter, although some may be closed for construction and renovation at times, so be sure to check before your next trip. Our next stop was the Enid A. Haupt Gardens, which somehow always look like a fairy tale, but especially in the springtime. These gardens change with the seasons and are named after philanthropist Enid Haupt, whose donations made the building of the gardens and many other DC landmarks possible. The gardens are actually located behind the Smithsonian Castle. James Smithson, the founder of the Smithsonian Institute, is actually buried inside the castle in a crypt near the front entrance.
Not far past the Smithsonian Castle is the Washington Monument. It's a common myth that discoloration in the Washington Monument was caused by a flood, but that's not true. Construction was paused for 23 years during the Civil War. When work resumed in the 1870s, workers had to source stone from a different quarry. The new marble was close in color but not an exact match, so the change in the stone gives the monument its noticeable two-tone appearance about a third of the way up. When it was finally completed in 1884, the Washington Monument became the tallest structure in the world, standing at just over 555 feet. It held that title until the Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889. Next, we make our way to the World War II Memorial, which is just beyond the Washington Monument. Construction and dedication of this memorial was completed in 2004. The memorial honors the 16 million Americans who served in the armed forces during World War II. Check out this cool Easter egg. This is the Kilroy Was Here graffiti, which is a nod to the graffiti American soldiers would leave behind during the war to indicate the places they had been.
Next, we headed down the side of the reflecting pool towards the Lincoln Memorial. The reflecting pool is about 160 feet wide and 2,000 feet long, or roughly 4 football fields. Once we got a little closer to the memorial, we saw some baby ducklings getting rescued by the DC Duck Watch. Each spring when baby ducklings are born, Duck Watch volunteers find ducklings that might be in danger of traffic or in a place with no access to food or water and rescue them. There's always something cool going on along the mall, and today we saw this procession from the Vietnamese American United Buddhist Congregation. We stopped to watch the procession before heading over to the Lincoln Memorial. The memorial's design was inspired by the Parthenon in Athens and was completed almost 60 years after President Lincoln's assassination. There are 36 columns surrounding the structure, representing the 36 states in the Union at the time of Lincoln's death. The massive seated statue of Abraham Lincoln is about 19 feet tall and weighs 175 tons. One of our favorite things to point out is that there's a typo in the Lincoln Memorial. On the north wall, the word future was accidentally carved with an E. The carver tried to fix it by filling it in, but if you look closely, you can still spot it. The Lincoln Memorial became a powerful symbol during the Civil Rights Movement. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech on the steps of the memorial. Today you can find an inscription marking the exact spot where he stood. Currently, the basement area exhibits are under construction and are expected to be completed in 2026 with 15,000 square feet of exhibit space that tells a more complete story of the Lincoln Memorial. After the Lincoln Memorial, we crossed the Arlington Memorial Bridge into Virginia. The bridge itself is symbolic, connecting the North and the South. On the other side at the top of the hill sits Arlington House, once Robert E. Lee's home, which was taken over by Union soldiers during the Civil War and turned into Arlington National Cemetery.
From here, we hopped onto the Mount Vernon Trail, a gorgeous riverside path that goes all the way to George Washington's estate in Mount Vernon. It's one of our favorite DC walking and biking routes, and in the spring it's covered in tulips. The Mount Vernon Trail offers beautiful views of the Potomac River and DC, and has so many landmarks along its 18 miles, including the Dyke Marsh Wildlife Preserve, Theodore Roosevelt's Island, and the Navy Merchant Marine Memorial, which you can see here. Just under halfway through our journey, we were really ready for a break. We stopped at the Columbia Island Marina at a bar called Island Time to grab some much needed snacks and drinks. I grabbed a local DC beer, a DC Brow IPA, and Sarah got a Mai Tai, and we split some chips and salsa. After a nice break, we continued on to our next destination, Gravelly Point. This park is one of the closest public places in the U.S. to a major airport runway. Planes take off and land just 100 to 200 feet overhead from the nearby airport DCA. It's a popular spot for locals to picnic, play sports, fly kites, and of course, watch the planes land. The next and longest portion of our walk took us past DCA, which you can actually access from the trail. At this point, Sarah and I were really ready for another break.
Finally, we reached our next exciting spot, another marina bar called Catboat Pizza Bar. We grabbed some delicious frosés and slices of pepperoni pizza and enjoyed the gorgeous views of the city. The coolest part was seeing the Capitol building from all the way across the Potomac River so we could see how far we'd come. After one last break, it was time for the final stretch to Old Town Alexandria. We followed the boardwalk along the water and past the old Gen-On power plant, which has been out of use for years and is now part of a big redevelopment plan. Just ahead, we made it into Tidelock Park, an amazing park popular for picnicking near the water with a sculpture garden and a mini obelisk that mirrors the Washington Monument. From there, we made our way into the quieter streets of Old Town Alexandria, and with its tree-lined sidewalks and brick row houses, it feels a lot like Georgetown. Finally, we made it to King Street. King Street dates back to the 1700s and was one of the original streets in the town when Alexandria was founded in 1749. It's named after King George II of Great Britain. Now it's full of tons of delicious restaurants and bars, and after just over 4 hours and 10 miles, we decided to conclude our journey at an Irish pub, Daniel O'Connell's, for a celebratory pint.
And with that, we ended our trip and headed home using the King Street Trolley and the DC Metro. Thanks for tagging along with us. If you enjoyed the ride, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss out on our next adventure.